We have the most mathematically literate generation of physicists in human history, yet we're living through the longest drought of breakthroughs since the scientific revolution. The Standard Model is lauded for its precision, but that precision relies on 19 free parameters. These are numbers like particle masses and coupling constants that the theory cannot predict. They must be manually tuned to make the mathematics fit the experimental data. In psychology, a Barnum statement is a claim loose enough to fit almost anyone, used by astrologers to appear accurate. 19 adjustable parameters give the Standard Model the same flexibility. It is sophisticated mathematical curve fitting masquerading as fundamental prediction. This is Mathamistan, the vast landscape of pure mathematical possibility. Mathematics can model an infinite number of fictional universes. Instead of seeking physical mechanisms, theoretical physics got lost in this abstraction. The domain of actual physical reality is microscopic compared to this boundless expanse. We have conflated mathematical rigor with physical rigor. Mathematical rigor ensures internal consistency. The equations balance. Physical rigor demands mechanistic reality. The symbols must correspond to actual objects interacting in space and time. Mathematical rigor without physical constraint does not yield a unified theory. It produces intellectual stiffness. It creates rigor mortis, a dead framework incapable of forward motion. If a doctor sees a patient with low blood platelets but cannot find the cause, they might diagnose idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura. The label sounds authoritative, but idiopathic literally translates to of unknown cause. It is a description of symptoms dressing up as an explanation. Modern physics operates on the same premise. We use complex mathematical nomenclature as a permanent placeholder for physical mechanisms we do not understand. Look at the vocabulary of the Standard Model. Dark matter is idiopathic gravitational excess. Wave-particle duality is idiopathic complementarity. Spontaneous symmetry breaking is idiopathic asymmetry. Medicine is generally honest about this. Idiopathic is a flag that the mechanism is unknown. Physics has no such flag. We teach these symptom labels as unquestionable foundational principles. The Standard Model is not an explanatory physical theory. It is a precise, meticulously categorized map of symptoms. This reliance on mathematics over mechanism traces back to specific historical inversions. Emmy Noether was a brilliant mathematician who worked in an era that systematically tried to silence her. In 1918, she proved a correspondence theorem that modern physics treats as foundational. Noether's theorem establishes a strict one-to-one mapping between the continuous symmetries of a system and its conserved quantities. The theorem establishes equivalence, not causation. Yet, modern physics pedagogy explicitly teaches that mathematical symmetries cause physical conservation laws. Time translation symmetry is the mathematical observation that physical laws do not change from one moment to the next. That symmetry does not cause energy conservation. The physical stability of the universe exists first. The symmetry is merely our mathematical description of that stability. Getting this causal arrow backward led to disastrous consequences. Physicists began chasing ever larger, purely abstract symmetry groups, assuming that a bigger mathematical structure would dictate the physical reality of the universe. Mathematics is a descriptive language, not a prescriptive cause. Gauge symmetries do not generate physical forces, they only characterize them. This inversion reached its peak with Eugene Wigner and his influential 1939 paper on the inhomogeneous Lorentz group. Wigner provided an elegant mathematical classification system. He defined particles as irreducible representations of the Poincare group. The physics community mistook this mathematical categorization for physical ontology. We stopped asking what a particle actually is in space and time, and accepted a mathematical abstraction as a physical entity. We fell into the trap of the mathematical isomorphism, a framework that perfectly predicts experimental data without describing the physical reality generating that data. This image displays 3 ways to map London. The tube map on the right is perfectly isomorphic for predicting stops, but it is useless if you want to understand the physical distances, the geology of the ground, or the engineering of the tunnels. The Standard Model is the tube map of the universe. It works for prediction, but it provides zero architectural blueprint for the physical universe. To escape the math trap, we must rebuild our ontology. We must return to a universe built on physical givens rather than mathematical axioms. The first given is the medium itself. The concept of the ether was wrongly discarded. It must be rehabilitated as the polarisable vacuum, a real physical medium with measurable properties through which light and matter interact. Within this medium, particles are not zero-dimensional mathematical points. They are real, ponderable structures known as topological solitons. This rendering illustrates the proposed physical geometry of the electron in one-field theory. It is a stable, self-confining knot of electromagnetic flux. In this specific geometry, the electric field winds outward, while the magnetic field threads through the central hole. Grounding the particle in actual physical geometry removes the need for abstract mathematical fixes like the Higgs mechanism. Mass is not a coupling to a mystical scalar field. Mass is the mechanical resistance encountered when dragging this confined topological knot through the polarisable vacuum. The resolution of the Higgs mechanism serves as a diagnostic. It shows that when the physical foundation is correct, the insights follow without struggle. By fixing the ontology at the base, 121 persistent problems, from the measurement problem to the strength of gravity, transition from abstract mathematical paradoxes into solvable questions of geometry. Genuine physical understanding is strictly irreversible. Once you understand the true mechanics of a system, you cannot downgrade it back to an abstract model. Recall the geocentric model. Ptolemaic epicycles were mathematically brilliant and highly predictive, yet totally physically wrong. Once Copernicus placed the sun at the center, epicycles didn't become an alternative framework. They were exposed as mathematical contortions designed to save a false assumption. The same dynamic applies to quantum field theory today. The virtual particles, the path integrals, and the gauge symmetries are the modern epicycles. Mathematicians have warned physicists for 80 years that Feynman path integrals lack a rigorous mathematical measure, forcing us to sum over abstract trajectories that do not physically exist. Quantum field theory works as a predictive isomorphism, but its bizarre complexities are artifacts of a broken ontology, forcing the mathematics to compensate for the false assumptions of empty space and point particles. Being trapped in mathematical formalism is a maze with no internal exit. Try to solve physics with more pure math, and you get string theory. String theory generated 10 to the power of 500 mathematically consistent universes without making a single falsifiable prediction about the one we actually inhabit. To move forward, we must abandon the shut up and calculate culture that has dominated the last century of theoretical physics. The universe does not speak mathematics. Mathematics is an engineered human tool used to map a reality that exists completely independently of our notation. True progress requires that we finally stop worshiping the map and return to the physical territory.